Good Wednesday evening, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys have had a good day today, like I have. It's been a good one for me. Nice, enjoying one. And we're going to get into some auto guidance today. We've got a lot to go over, some updated information for this evening. So, like this video if you like it, subscribe if you've not done so already, and please leave a comment where you're watching from. It'd be greatly appreciated. So, unlike usual, we're going to start this video off and kind of briefly explain what's driving this first. Kind of lay a foundation, then we'll go over some model guidance. I've kind of stripped back this video to just give you what you really need, get some of the clutter out. So we're going to go over that. So this is the latest Euro, the 12Z. The 18Z is running, not on this site. It's on other sites, but it hasn't run long enough, so we have to use this. But we're starting all model guidance off Friday evening. So you can see right off the bat, this area right here of lower pressure, you can see these black lines kind of bend like this. That means it's pushing that way, to the left, to the west here. And this is lower pressure, so this is typically cooler air, especially in the wintertime. This can be really cold air. So this entire area is below average with pressures and temperatures. Just think about it that way. So as we move this on in time, you can see that area really amplify. Let's get to Saturday morning here. This is Saturday morning, about 8 a.m. or so, Eastern time, 7 or 8 o'clock. You can see this trough digging almost due south now. It was digging like this, and now it's pivoted like this, and it will continue to pivot. It kind of goes like this, and then pivots off to the east, and then up the coast. So what we're watching this for, if you don't know, is how deep it is. So we're looking for these colors to be as strong and as deep as possible, and we're looking for the orientation of this. Does this trough end up digging like this, or does it end up digging like this? If it digs like the second one I just drew, we'd be dealing with a stronger system, possibly a more amplified scenario where you possibly have more warming issues. But as of right now, it kind of splits the difference almost. It digs like this. So it's neutrally tilted to slightly positively tilted. That's what that is. Don't get caught up in the details. So we move this on even further in time, and look at how large it gets. This is getting into Saturday evening. Now we'll just use the last frame here. This is Saturday evening. The sun is just going down, and we just look at this insane area of really cold air aloft. This is what tells me right off the bat that we're not going to have any issues in the affected areas with mixing, at least after the event starts. Maybe right at the beginning, but this is either going to be a rain or snow thing. And that will be based on surface temperatures, not mid-level temperatures. So you can see this trough is almost starting to dig this way. It's kind of transitioning here. So what that tells me is it's reaching its maturity. And these values are just really, really below average, really, really cold. And then, so we move this on in time, and it starts to pivot up the coast, and after that, it gets going. You know, this is Sunday morning and into the afternoon. It moves up the coast here. So then it's out of the way, and we have some troughing that lingers behind it. So it tells me the days that follow this event will also be cooler. So we might have the snow stay on the ground actually in some of these areas. So that's something. Now, what about our energy? That right there, what I just showed you was just below or above average pressure-wise. This is vorticity, and so all this really is here. I'm gonna get everything in frame actually. All this really is just energy. That's it. There's no real way to explain this better. It's just the amount of I always pick the worst color for this. It's the amount of energy readily available at a given time, pretty much. So you can see here that this is kind of pushing off that way. We're starting this off at the same time as we started the other. So then what? We move this on, and you see how it twists around. So let's take this out to Saturday morning where we did the other analysis here. So it's digging like this. So it's made a transition from this to this. It will be like this. So I'm going to actually leave those on, and you'll see it matches right there. So it digs, it makes its transition, and then moves through. So what that really means is that this trough is reaching maturity right as it's over these areas. So this is getting into Saturday afternoon. It makes its pivoting through the far western areas of our risk that we'll go over later. and it's making its way into the eastern sections here. And you see these streamers, the streamer looking things out over the ocean. Those are just enhanced areas. Those are where, there'd be more locally heavy precipitation, more intense. Now, you might be thinking, what this band up here, that's not just a really, really strong band of storms. That would just be, there'd be clouds along that. But you can see this is kind of curling and then it goes in a little bit. So that means it's wrapping up on itself. It's matured. That's what that really means. We move this on in time and it really gets going here and amplifies, goes up the coast. There's more energy that follows it, but nothing really significant with moisture. That might be a clipper up there to the north. And then who knows, further out in time, one thing at a time. But this should draw your attention. It makes its pivot and moves on through. So there's our foundation for how this event will work. We'll go into temperatures later. So let's look at some actual model runs. This is the Euro, the 12Z. I showed you the 6Z in the last video I showed you. So here we go. We're starting this off here, getting towards midnight Saturday, or Friday night into Saturday, early Saturday morning. We have some snow. And the Euro does like the idea of getting some snow into areas of northern Georgia. I got several comments on the last video talking about Atlanta. The Euro likes the idea of giving Atlanta something. It's not anything major. You might see some snow flying, but I don't really know if it will be something that it really accumulates. But we have this area of snow getting into Saturday morning across, the Carolinas. The Virginia is kind of getting in on this, and then far eastern Tennessee and Kentucky, as well as northern Georgia. So where does it go? Well, it moves just due east. The moisture does. So this frame here, for example, this is Saturday evening. This would be about 7 or 8 o'clock at night. The sun has already gone down, and you see this area of heavier snow. That's exactly what it is. Just these darker blues, these just heavier snow. And again, I mentioned this in this morning's video. I'll mention it again, that some of the rates inside this could be really high, and then some of the ratios inside this could be really high as well. And what that really means is that you have a base number of 1 inch of liquid equivalent. So that just 1 inch of rain. 1 inch of rain typically would equal about 10 inches of snow. That's a pretty high ratio. You think about that. But this we could have 15 to 1, 20 to 1 ratios. So it will be very efficient at snowing, if that makes any sense. Very cold, kind of dry snow, especially in these areas. This could be a little bit wetter as we get closer to the low, but not to get caught up in details here. This is getting into Saturday evening, into the overnight hours, and it hits the eastern areas of North Carolina and the Chesapeake Bay and the Tidewater area of Virginia. Pretty good. It moves up the coast. So, like I did in this morning's video, I didn't pull up tabs for this. I'm just going to switch it on the fly here. This is as it goes up the coast. So, we're getting into Sunday morning here, Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, and it definitely gives, let's say, Long Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island get some pretty heavy snow. You can see some really dark blues north of the low here. And it moves up into Atlantic Canada. And the Euro still keeps the low far enough offshore that you don't ever mix. So there's that. And then the Euro teased this morning at some backside energy getting going in northern Georgia, but it doesn't really show that anymore. So you can see it just makes its passage through. Looks like that. Okay. What about the GFS? We're going to start off smaller and we'll go bigger as it moves up the coast. So this right here, right off the bat, see these greens in like central areas of Georgia and South Carolina? I don't think that necessarily would be rain. It could be just warm enough, but we'll have to watch. That's all I'm going to say. We'll just have to watch that. And yeah, the area of snow, although it definitely brings it further west. We have areas in far western Kentucky and far northern and western Tennessee getting in on some snow here, all the way back over into most of West Virginia snowing. So it's a little bit bigger to start off with. And then this frame right here is when it's really starting. So, this frame, 12Z Saturday, it's ticked the axis of moisture a little bit north for this time. So we really have to get into Saturday afternoon to see it. But it still spreads all the way down. The entire state of South Carolina gets some snow. But again, this is a pretty mean cutoff. I'll show you the latest one and see if there's any real difference. I don't know if we have all of it. It looks like we do, so I'll just back this up. It's a lot of the same. I mean, yeah, it's a lot of the same here. This is right here is getting into Friday evening, Friday afternoon, Friday evening. So maybe a little bit earlier on the latest run, but again, it kind of gets everything going more Saturday afternoon. This would be right about lunchtime. You can see the GFS trended more moisture in here, maybe just a little bit. We'll have to watch as well. See how it's hard. It's going to be hard for you guys to see. Let's get this right. You see these black lines kind of kink like this in this area, especially as you get closer to the low. That right there is a surface trough. So it pretty much just it. There's an area right in here that has enhanced, very locally, very minute details, subtle details, but it has more lift at the surface, so it gets more moisture going, if that makes any sense. We need to watch right in here for some sort of band of snow to develop that'd be pretty narrow, that might overperform and give several inches to those areas inside it. Not a forecast, just an idea. And you compare this to the last GFS. This ticked it south. This was the last run right here. This is the latest. So ticked it south a little bit, and we move this on in time. And look at we've uptrended the rates here a little bit. This area would have really heavy, like puking snow outside. Really heavy. Now the GFS on this run does not run the low into the Outer Banks, so we trended it east. Now let me go back a little bit. Right here, see that? That 986 low was hitting the Outer Banks. Now it's like, uh, it's offshore enough. I don't know exactly how far that would be, but that's probably near 100 miles. And it's offshore. So it gives, I mean, look at this frame right here. This is Sunday morning. Be about 7 or 8 a.m. in the morning on Sunday. And look at all this really heavy snow in the eastern areas of North Carolina. Not a forecast. And then it kind of moves up the coast. We'll stop it here and then switch to the eastern U.S. sector here. So yeah, the the latest GFS, it really trended this thing south and east. It was hitting areas of, this is the latest. This is the last run. This is the latest. So it really knocked down some of those totals and say Long Island and Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island, that kind of area there, really kind of blew you guys off. And then it hits Atlantic Canada, but the low on this run is much further offshore. That's why. But that does not to say that it doesn't give the Carolinas and even areas of Georgia and Southern Virginia some notable snow. So keep that in mind. We actually trended this southeast. That's the opposite way we typically trend these. Excuse me. So yeah, that's the latest run of that. Now, how about the R gem? This is pretty much the regional gem, and the gem, the GEM, is the Canadian. That's the other name for it. So this is a short range version of the Canadian. The only reason I'm not showing you the main Canadian is because it only runs 2 times a day. So I already showed you the latest run of it. So I'm just going to show you this. This is an updated run. This is 18Z. So again, we kind of start this off Friday evening into Saturday. Snow in Tennessee and Kentucky. And they like even a snow shower over Columbia, South Carolina. Not a forecast, just something that's floating around. This area starts to fill in. This is 7, 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. And broad area snow. Nashville points east in North Carolina. Well, North Carolina gets it, but Nashville points east in Tennessee. Up maybe as far north as, say, Pikeville, Kentucky, maybe. And look at Georgia on this run of the R gem. It really gets the northern half pretty good, and then it moves south. So even areas like Macon could see snow. And these are really heavy bands. So there is still a hope for northern Georgia. The northern half of Georgia could definitely see snow. We have scenarios that do that. And we move this out in time here. Many hours. There's that surface trough showing up here. Where we have that little band of snow. I have to watch that. And one thing that has happened, this is on the latest R gem, right in here. Do you see this? This like dry area. The Euro showed that this morning, and it didn't really on the last run as much. This would cut down on your totals some if you live in that circle. That's like Greenville, Greensboro area, not exactly, and then over towards the Outer Banks, we don't have enough of this run. It only goes out this far. So it starts to fill in. And that is a 987 low just offshore, and you're mixing to rain in the Outer Banks. That might happen. We have trended this close enough overall, not with the last run, but just overall that you might, but I can assume, I just would, that you see the low tracking here. I would assume to do some like future casting here, the low would kind of go like that, or maybe like that. So on the backside, all of eastern North Carolina, even the Outer Banks, would get snow, probably heavy, wet snow as well. So don't freak out if you're in the Outer Banks and you're like, what's happening here? No, and I don't really think so. But this is a pretty solid event. So yeah, we started off looking at this, but here's an evolution of it. So we get this going, get into Friday afternoon into Saturday, and there it goes. You can see those locally heavier little bands right in here, like this over eastern North Carolina, and there's several of them. Look at all these. These are just enhanced areas of vorticity aloft. That's what they look like reflected to the surface. So, what about our temperatures? Is that going to be a problem for some people? So, we're going to start this off. This is just the operational Euro from this morning. We're going to start this off at the same time. This is Friday evening. And on this website, this blue line here, where it turns blue and areas further north of it here, this is at or below freezing, and this area south of it are at or above. So there we go. We get into the night, and you can see this line drops south. This is getting into about 4 or 5 a.m. on Saturday. And you can see there's almost a kink in this freezing line here. So that is our surface trough showing up. Uh, there's, the kinks kind of go like this, and it pushes up that way. So it kind of pushes some cooler air out of the way and brings some Atlantic moisture and warm air into the picture. That's possible. But still, the northern half of South Carolina, all of North Carolina, except for the Outer Banks, is at or below freezing. And even that area fills in. I mean, this is Saturday afternoon, getting into the evening, and we have teens and 20s in the Carolinas. This would be a really, really cold, likely dry snow. So, and we move this on, some single digits starting to show up in the far western areas of the Carolinas and northern Georgia, as well as like the entire state of West Virginia is cold. You can just name areas until you're blue in the face with this. Uh, and we move this on, and then say, what about Sunday? This is Sunday afternoon. So some of these areas that get snow might get above freezing, but most of them don't. And we have cooler temperatures, maybe getting to 40 in some of these regions. I mean, over the next few days, but this would keep that snow on the ground for those of you who love snow just like I do. This is a good look, right? Stays at or below freezing during the event, and then the days after, it doesn't really get that much above freezing. So I mentioned this earlier. I'm just going to do this really briefly. This is the 700 millibar temperatures here. So what this really is, this is about 2 or 3 miles above your head. So think about it that way, 2 to 4 miles, depending on exactly where you are. And these pinks you see here are really, really cold temperatures. That's like, negative 25 to negative 30 Celsius. And this is, again, this is a few miles up in the atmosphere. This line down here where it turns blue is still the freezing line. That's 0 Celsius. So we don't have to worry in all of this area about it, switching to freezing rain, for example. At least on this run. I mean, it hasn't. Let me look at it just the last several. It might flash a little bit. So yeah, we have not done anything with this. It's the actual location of this line has maybe moved 10 or 20 miles per run, and it goes up and down. So we are set in stone, I would say at this point, that the entire area that looks like they might get snow will stay very cold aloft. And you can see as this moves down, as we get into Saturday, it's even further. I mean, we see that low. You can see it denoted here by these values, and just very, very cold as we're getting into Saturday morning, and it pivots through the area. I mean, this is getting into Saturday evening. So there's that surface low, that 990 low right there. And this is the latest Euro, and it took it out to sea. And so it gets into the 960s. That's the equivalent of a major hurricane. So that leads me, before we get into snow totals, that leads me to this. This thing, I'm going to select a different sector, a little bit closer. This thing can get the winds cranking. Uh, we'll just look at this section for now. This is getting right here. This is a Sunday morning, about 4 or 5 in the morning. That's a 970 low, but look at the winds in this area here. I mean, just offshore, you have 50s to 60s, maybe 70s knots, which is similar in miles per hour of just sustained wind. It's a major hurricane equivalent here, and it moves off to the north. Now, how about the overall look here? Yeah, this it goes up the coast, Cape Cod with some very strong winds here in Atlantic Canada. It's offshore wind, but still very windy conditions. Even areas across the Carolinas and Georgia, as we're doing this event, would be breezy. So we could have like some blowing snow. I don't know. That's not a forecast. It's just something that's kind of not being talked about with this event as much. A lot of people say blizzard. I've even said that. I said that was the title of my last video because I think it could be. I mean, this it rolls up the coast here, and this is just a very strong run. Actually, we're getting a few frames of. Do we have all of the 18Z? Hold on. I'm gonna check something. We might not have all. It just finished. Okay, this is special for you guys. I'm going to start back down here. I apologize for not having seen this earlier, but I think it literally just finished running here. This will get we'll get some really fresh information to you guys. So here we are doing this again, just with the Euro here. This is the 18Z. So just finished running, getting into midnight ish. Friday night to Saturday morning, snow. Even in areas further south and west here, Atlanta, you're well within some light snow at this point. Doesn't last very long. And then where does it go? Yeah, that's a run that would make a lot of people happy. I'm glad I saw that. I almost missed it. But yeah, very heavy snow in these regions. And I don't think we're going to be able to pull up a snowfall graphic for this because other sites don't support 18Z necessarily. So we'll see. But hey, that's a that's a pretty solid look. And where does it go afterwards? Let's see. Let's see here. Oh yeah. Okay, that thing's spent Cape Cod. You get really close to this low here. I mean, that's a 966 low, about 100 miles offshore. Very heavy snow. Getting inland a little bit further here. So the Euro is still holding on to the idea of getting the I-95 corridor, at least on its far eastern side, with some snow here. And yeah, moves out of our way. Anyway, let's look at some snowfall graphics. So this is the Euro ensemble. It's probably the last time I'm going to show you this. Just an overall look, at least for this event, not in general. The Euro ensemble is great, but just in general here. So it's got the heaviest totals over in this area. We kind of expected that. I mean, it's not changed a whole lot. This is pretty normal. Central North Carolina points east are where it mainly is. But I mean, even in my neck of the woods over here, we have several inches. I would take that. I'd be happy to get that. Columbia down here with 4-ish inches. And then the really higher totals are over here, Elizabeth City, the Outer Banks in general, and then up to Chesapeake, the Hampton Roads area, and then up through the Delmarva, although it cuts off. Like Washington, D.C. does not have much of anything notable here. Delaware, New Jersey on the southern half, and then this is the Euro ensemble. So, I mean, it does give some snow to Long Island, especially as you get further out on Long Island. Drops a casual 13 inches of snow on Cape Cod, along with really windy conditions, and moves off into Atlantic Canada. So that's a solid look for snow off the Euro ensemble. So again, this is the 12Z Euro. It does support 18Z. I'll reload this, but I doubt it's good. Yeah, it's not running. So we'll have to assume, but it's pretty similar. The run was not a whole lot different. So this makes me happy. Over here in my neck of the woods, we have, you know, 6 2/3 inches. So over here, Goldsboro, Greenville, Rocky Mount area of North Carolina, again with a casual 13 inches of snow. This is not a forecast. In the southern Appalachians along the Smokies here, there's another kind of enhanced area where this event starts off at. This is mainly higher elevation base, but even you break containment, Columbia, South Carolina, over 5.5 inches. Now, since I have several viewers in Atlanta, I'll look at this. Even though you see this and you're like, a third of an inch, that's it. I I'm watching. Let me go back a few runs. This is the 6Z. That's interesting. This is the 6Z run. This is this is the latest run. So very similar. What about the run before that? So yeah, we haven't really done a whole lot with this. It's stayed a lot of the same, but our energy has been taking uh generally southward to some extent. Westward, then we have some eastward trends. Don't give up on this because this is also not the that Canadian short range run. So this is the GFS. Uh, I'm not gonna say it's off its rockers, but I think it is. This is a lot of snow if you want to wear. I mean, Goldsboro down to Jacksonville with nearly 2 feet of snow on this run. Not a forecast. Absolutely not a forecast. Chesapeake with a foot, but a very aggressive, quick drop off to the north of to nothing. In Washington, D.C., you really get left behind. And then again, along the Smokies and Appalachian Mountains, some higher totals. Now, this right here, this little like bullseye you see, is probably from that surface trough. So, again, this is a good example of how this could overperform. Uh, just along the I-85 corridor, but oriented the other way, if that makes any sense. Now, this specific run screws me over. I'm literally right in the middle of this this weak area, but that's not necessarily what's going to happen. Just a look. And then on the GFS, it kept it so far offshore, it gave the um, Cape Cod half an inch. I mean, I don't think that's true. Let's go back one run, and you had 22 inches. This kind of a trend isn't a trend. That's a random thing to happen. So don't focus on that if you look. This scenario, I buy a lot more. Not down here though. Not a forecast. But there's the latest overall view. Now, this is the RDPS, Regional Deterministic Prediction System. This is another name for the RGEM. At least, as far as I know, it is. I meant to click on this. This is the ratio. Let's just run this out. So notice, Atlanta, it gives you 4 or 5 inches. I don't think that any sane person would call for that in Atlanta with our other models looking like they do right now. This event, by the way, is not over. If you look in far eastern areas of North Carolina and you're like, why is there nothing? It's because it hasn't happened yet. This is all we've got. But I mean, look down here in the low country. This is really insane. This is 18 inches. And that's because there's those really locally heavy bands that roll through. And I mean, yeah, so over my house, 4 inches, 5 inches, gets the Smokies. And then central eastern North Carolina, there's sporadic 10 inches showing up, half a foot in a lot of areas. And then this like little extension down here is from that surface trough. So we'll have to watch. As we get closer, we can look at more of this short range stuff. I will on the fly. I don't want to make this video overly long. I'm going to look here. This is the 12Z. Do we have anything later? Oh, we did. So this is the RRFSA model. I'm not even going to look at the precipitation. I'm just going to show you this. Yeah. So this is a really, really big miss. That's what this tells me. So let me, I'm going to have to go up here to this. This was interesting to me. I haven't seen this yet. Okay. This scenario, I don't buy this. This is the latest RRFSA model. It does nothing. It keeps the moisture so far offshore that nothing happens at all, other than some really, really light, kind of airy looking snow showers. I don't buy this in the slightest. Let me go back. I'll go back to this run, for example. This is many runs ago. Look at this. It showed something like this. Even this was kind of a questionable look. Really sporadic with the moisture. I mean, I don't necessarily buy that. This was the run before it. So yeah, I don't buy this. I'm pretty sure the zero Z, I think it showed something. Yeah, it showed a little bit of something else. So this is going to be the beginnings of something good. I did not expect the RRFSA to do something so aggressive when it comes to being dry. I mean, this is really, really bad. I don't buy this. Not yet. If everything else switches to it, then I'll buy it. I don't buy it right now. So that's all I have for you guys. Interesting note to end on, I know. But the RRFSA, it has stuff to figure out. We have no other model guidance that agrees on it. I think this scenario playing right now is pretty realistic. I think this looks good. Uh, this model, I'm pretty sure, did pretty well with the last event as well. So maybe it's onto something. I like this. I'm going to use this. So this is all I've got for you. Thanks for tuning in. Uh, Tune in tomorrow. I should get a video out by about lunchtime to 2 p.m. or so. So tune into that. Have some updated information for you guys. But as always, have a good rest of your evening, and I will see you guys in the next one.